Well, good morning and welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. I'm having technical difficulties today, so please forgive me for that. I've got half a screen and I've had a hard time getting my camera to work, so bear with me. But hopefully you can hear me, so we'll go ahead and continue with Acts. We're in chapter 20 today. We are in Paul's third missionary journey. He's been in Ephesus, but he's about to leave there because there was a riot. And so in chapter 20, we pick up the story. It says, when the uproar had ended, Paul sent for the disciples, and after encouraging them, said goodbye and set out for Macedonia. Now, Macedonia, remember, is Thessalonica, Philippi, Berea, that area. And that is where would be modern day Greece. It was Macedonia back there. Greece was more Athens, Corinth. Back in that day, this was Macedonia, a different place. So he traveled through that area, speaking many words of encouragement to the people, and finally arrived in Greece, where he stayed 3 months. Because the Jews made a plot against him just as he was about to sail for Syria. Syria would be where Antioch is. So he decided to go back through Macedonia. And he was accompanied by Sopater, son of Paris and from Berea, Articus and Secundus from Thessalonica, Gaius from Derbe, Timothy also, Tychus and Trophimus. And Trophimus is also mentioned in the list in Romans 16. From the province of Asia. These men went on ahead and waited for us at Troas. But we sailed from Philippi after the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and 5 days later joined the others at Troas, where we stayed 7 days. On the first day of the week, we came together to break bread. Now, they're using Troas here. It's a little port city not far from Ephesus. We'll talk about that later. Paul spoke to the people, and because he intended to leave the next day, kept on talking until midnight. There were many lamps in the upstairs room where we were meeting, and so Luke is with them now. Seated in a window was a man by the name of Eutychus, who was sinking into a deep sleep as Paul talked on and on. Paul was a long preacher. When he was sound asleep, he fell to the ground from the third story and was picked up dead. Paul went down, threw himself on the young man, and put his arms around him. Don't be alarmed, he said, he's alive. Then he went upstairs again and broke bread and then ate. After talking until daylight, he left. The people took the young man home alive and were greatly comforted. Paul's about to leave, and so he's wanting to give last minute instructions to them. So he's preaching, and it said that he's preaching on and on and on. There's a young man who's in the windowsill. He falls asleep. He falls out. Rather funny to me. Paul wasn't keeping that young man's attention, and I'll be honest with you, that's as a pastor for over 40 years, if I can keep about 8-year-old boys to 15-year-old boys' attention, I feel like I've really done something. I feel like they give me about 2 minutes, and that's about it. But this young man fell asleep, fell off, and he was picked up dead. Now, a lot of speculation about whether he really died or whether he was just knocked unconscious. We don't really know. It doesn't matter because, to be honest with you, we know God could perform the miracle and bring him back from the dead, and if he wasn't dead, it's fine too. Because there's been lots of miracles in Acts and in the Gospels, but the young boy's fine. He goes home fine, and then Paul just goes right up and goes back to preaches until dawn, and so quite a scene there about Paul and they create Luke puts a pretty good spin on that from writing Acts where there's flickering lamps and stuff. In other words, it was just an environment that would invite you to go to sleep. And Paul preaching on and on and on and on. You get the feeling that Paul was a long preacher, and he was long-winded, and so he did that. Kind of a funny story. Tomorrow, we're going to see him call for the elders of Ephesus. Now, I just wanted to mention this. They talk about it a little bit more tomorrow. It's very interesting that Paul decides not to sail to Ephesus, but he sails to Troas. The reason for that is the major port was there in Ephesus. The other thing is Paul had been there in Ephesus for a long while. Probably the longest he stayed anywhere, he stayed in Ephesus. And N.T. Wright, who I think is the world's foremost scholar on this, has speculated something must have happened there. And so he thinks that Paul's literally trying to skip Ephesus, something. And of course, N.T. Wright's belief is that he was put in jail there and something awful happened to him there. And he thinks that's a lot about what 2 Corinthians is about, something that's happened to him in Ephesus. That's not the traditional thinking. Traditional thinking is he was jailed and wrote the pastoral epistles from Rome. N.T. Wright thinks it was from Ephesus, though Luke doesn't mention it in Acts. But kind of interesting to speculate, but it is interesting that he did not go back to Ephesus. It's almost like there was something there. He did not want to go back. I don't know if he was fearful he would be arrested again. I don't know what it was. Now, he wanted to see the church leaders, and you'll see that he will. But just kind of food for thought. Well, we'll continue in Acts 20 tomorrow, and I hope you have a blessed day. And go Astros.